wow, this guy recognizes, it's a gift not just to have money, but to enjoy money. Deuteronomy chapter 8, verse 18 says, remember the Lord your God, for it is he who gives you the power to create wealth, and so fulfills his covenant, which he made with your forefathers. Everything we have, the ability to attain it, comes from God. The ability to enjoy it comes from God. And the minute I stop trusting in God and start trusting in my wealth, the minute I become so anxious about money that I no longer start with what does God want to do with this resource, and I start with what is my need before I even think of anything else. At that point, I start worshiping at the altar of Mammon. Mammon wins over my life. And I want to say that today, Mammon, just like in Jesus' day, Mammon is the greatest idol in the lives of God's people. Who is the master of your life? Your money shows you who you work for, God or Mammon. Money traps us. Have you ever heard of the trap, the monkey trap? It's a very interesting, ingenious little trap. The hunters in Southeast Asia came up with this thing. And what they do is they get a big jar that has a wide body, but then has a very narrow neck. And they dig it into the ground, they make a hole for it, and they stamp it in so that only the neck is showing above the ground. And then they put in, they put in nuts and fruits inside it, the kind that monkeys really like. And then they take off. They're not even concerned to be around to see what happens because they know what's inevitably going to happen. Little monkey comes, making sure nobody's seeing, the first monkey on the scene, and the first thing it knows where the smell is coming from, puts its hand in to get the nuts or the fruits. And it puts its hand in and looks around and finally finds something big enough and starts to pull. And then it realizes something, that the only way its hand will ever come out of that jar is if it lets go of the fruit that it's holding. But monkey isn't clever enough to do that. Because monkey is thinking, I ain't letting go of this thing. Someone else might come and take it right now. And so monkey holds on tightly, and in fact, at some point starts to scream in frustration. It's holding on. But the hunter is not even in a hurry, because that monkey can stay there for hours, holding on to that nut or that fruit. And then eventually what happens when the hunter has had his lunch and he wants to come and collect, he comes with his net, and he walks all the way directly to the monkey, not even bothering to hide. Monkey sees him coming and even starts getting excited, trying to get away. But monkey is not going to let go. And eventually he just walks up right there as the monkey is just screaming and jumping, and he puts his net on top and snares the monkey. Now, tell me something. Monkeys are stupid, aren't they? They're so stupid. Surely all you need to do is just do what? Just let go. Monkeys are so stupid, aren't they? Or are they? Or are they? The fact that you're listening to me today tells me that there's hope for you. Tells me that you are one of those that God is giving you an opportunity to let go. Because Mammon is that trapper. And he has put that thing there to hold us. And we think we're holding on to it. But the reality is it's holding on to our hearts. And this is a lesson that God has been teaching me about money. That I can teach you anything else. I can show you how to make money. By the way, I've said this before, I believe that God has determined that different ones here are going to become kingdom millionaires. I have no doubt of that. And I believe that as we teach about money, this is part of what we want to do, is equip you so you understand how to control money. But listen to this. Unless you deal with this fundamental issue of who is your master, then you never will be able to control money. And the wealth that comes your way will actually destroy you. Who is your master? Your money shows who you work for, God or Mammon. And this is why Jesus spoke so much about money. He knew that across all ages and all cultures, when people stop clutching and when they give up complete control of their money to God's kingdom agenda for their lives, then he sets them free from the trap of Mammon, and he sets them free to become the people that he created them to be. How do we escape this trap? I've been having so many good lessons that God has been teaching me. I tell you, this is a lesson you learn all your life. It's a lesson that you don't just learn once, but you just need to keep coming back to it over and over and over. I've had so many experiences in my life where God has taught me about the fact that money is not my provider. God is my provider. God has taught me that it's not money economy I depend on, it's kingdom economy. And when I depend on kingdom economy, everything is possible. I can do things that people my age can only dream of doing. And I've seen those things happen. But how quickly I forget. As soon as I enter the promised land, like the Israelites, I've been in the wilderness, God has provided every day without even thinking. Immediately I begin to grab on. Just recently, one of my friends God has used her so effectively in my life. Just sharing her story. And every time I watch her, God has just been she doesn't even know this, but God has just been using her to just speak to me about my own hoarder-like tendencies. And she's one person who, everything God tells her, she prays about every financial decision. She just lives like she really believes her money comes from God and it's God's. So she prays about it. And I remember the last few years, God has used her to support many, she's my age, but God has used her to support many children who are not her children through school, through high school, through university. And God has, every time she would pray about money, God would take her to somebody and say, support this one. And so she'd do it. And at the beginning of this year, just a few months ago, she was just very frustrated. She was telling God, Lord, I've done this, and I'm happy to continue doing it, but somehow I feel you've not helped me in this other part, which is my investments and my savings. And I want to be faithful in this as well. So teach me, show me, open doors. Lord, I've tried to be faithful, but every time I build up this, you've told me, give it here. What do you want me to do? And she said to God, show me how to accelerate my giving. And I remember just thinking, my goodness, she prays, even about her investments, she prays. And what happened is, just a little while after she prayed that prayer, God led her to this young man who does some plots, who sells land all over the place. And this guy shared with her about something that wasn't very interesting to many people. A piece of land somewhere was 7 acres. It was going to cost 1.2 million. It was all she had. In fact, she had to hustle a lot to get everything together to buy it. But it wasn't something attractive at all. It wasn't one of these very, very strategic pieces at that time. And she came and shared with me last week that today, 3 months later, this is unbelievable, 3 months later, somehow people have discovered that area in 3 months. And she said today, her piece of land that she bought for 1.2 million for 7 acres now costs 1.2 million for each acre. In 3 months, God has made her money grow 7 times. Now, of course, the hoarder in me was like, hey, which area is this? How can I quickly get there and make a killing? But that's not her thinking at all. Basically, what has happened is God has so hardwired her to begin to understand that He wants her to be a steward, that she prays about everything. And I've been telling God, I want to be that kind of person. I want to be that person who is so yielded to you that you have no shame just sending finances through me because they're going to find their home where they're supposed to be. And so the question I want us to ask today as I conclude is this. How do we set ourselves free from the power of mammon? How do we set our hearts free from the trap of mammon? We're going to be talking about that for the next few weeks. But today, in fact, let me say this. Before I even go into this, because I want to conclude my sermon on that. Before I say this, let me just say that this whole month, we're going to be talking, like I said, there are 4 principles. Today I'm sharing just one principle, free your heart. There are very practical things that God has put in His Word that you're going to find amazing as you begin to employ them. Next week, we're going to have some incredible testimonies from people who are doing some of these things we're talking about. But on the 24th of September, if you want to put that date in your calendar, 24th of September, it's a Saturday. We're going to have a money fair here at Mavuno Church. We call it Money Wise. This is probably the 3rd money fair we've done since we began. And it's a whole Saturday, so block the day in your calendar. It's a great investment of your time. We're going to have different speakers come and talk to us about money and how to engage our money well, how to use it well. The keynote speaker is going to be Dr. Jonathan Siano of Uchumi, the CEO of Uchumi. He just wants to share his story about how understanding debt and how to manage debt has been able to help him rescue a great publicly listed company here in our country, but also sharing about how we apply those lessons in our own personal lives. But in addition to him, we're going to have people talk about how to teach your children about money. Those of you who have kids, you need to understand how to do that now. He's going to be talking about how to, there are other people who are going to be talking about how to get out of debt. So if you're seriously in debt, just come with everything you have, all your figures, and there's somebody who will actually give a very practical workshop how to get out of debt. There's one I'm really excited. Somebody's going to be talking about how to monetize your purpose. Imagine, once you discover your purpose, how do you begin to make resources or money in that direction? So we're going to have a whole bunch of very exciting topics, and we want to make sure everyone comes in and just benefits from that. We'll give you more details, but I just want you to note that date in your calendar. But today we begin with a basic step of free your heart. You free your heart through confessing to God that you're failed as a manager of His resources. You free your heart by telling God, Lord, with all my best intentions, I misappropriate your resources. It comes with recognition and acknowledgement of where your heart really is. Lord, I may have acted righteously even towards others or self-righteously, but the reality is deep down in my heart, I am a clutcher too. It begins with that confession. And as you confess, then you repent. And repenting means you turn 180 degrees and you walk the other direction. And what that means is you tell God, with your help, as you help me, I commit myself that I'll begin to be faithful with the little you've given me. I'm going to begin to learn. I'm going to begin to allow your Spirit to come in and to change me so that my natural tendency to clutch will be freed from my life with your help. This is how you begin to do it. And so how do I want us to end this message? I want to challenge you. Some of you are sitting here, and I know that God has been speaking specifically to you. As I prepared this message, I pray that God would speak specifically to certain people. And God has convicted you that you are a hoarder. Maybe you never knew it or you suspected it, but today He's made it very clear to you. Or He's told you you're a spender, and it's very clear to you that this is where your heart is right now. Or He's told you you're an avoider, and you never even knew the term for it, but now you finally understand it. And you're saying, Lord, I need your help to be freed of the trap of mammon in my life. If this is you, I'm going to invite you to stand up right now because I have a word from the Lord for you before we pray. So just stand up right now, and I'm going to help you. I'm going to lead you in prayer. If this is you, the Lord has been speaking to you, saying, Lord, I need your help. Hey, without you, I will never make this thing. Without you, I can see how money will destroy me, how quickly I'll become a clutcher of this thing. I already am. I need your help. Wherever you are, just stand up right now. The Lord is speaking to you. He's speaking so strongly. I know He's speaking to many people across the room. I know even in the dome outside. I know in the overflow tent that the Lord is speaking where you are. Just stand up where you are right now. And in your standing, you're saying, Lord, with your help. Lord, with your help. I want to begin with that confession, but with your help, Lord, I want to be set free. And this is a word, as you stand, that I sense the Lord has for you. I sense that the Lord, I prayed and asked the Lord, give me a word for your people. And this is the word that the Lord gave me for you. If you're a hoarder and this is what the Lord has shown you, then this is what the Lord is saying. He's saying this, my daughter, my son, you're easily driven by a spirit of fear and greed to amass money, and you struggle with generosity. And this grieves my heart. And God said, confess this fear and greed to me. Pray that I will give you a generous heart and a trusting heart towards me. This is what I sense the Lord is saying to you. If you're a hoarder, the Lord is saying, confess and ask me for two things, a generous heart and a trusting heart. For those of you who are spenders, I ask the Lord, what shall I say to the spenders? This is what I sense the Lord is saying to you. This is my son, my daughter. You tend to recklessly misuse and misappropriate my resources. And the reason is because you're seeking your love and approval through money. And this is idolatry. And God said, this grieves me very much that there are idols in your heart. And He says, you know what? Confess this idolatry. Ask me to help you gain complete love and acceptance in me, that you may gain the discipline to manage my resources well. And I sense this is a word of the Lord to you, if you are primarily a spender. And then lastly, for the avoiders, and I want to say this one surprised me. In my heart, when I did the little thing of which one would you prefer to be, I thought, Lord, the avoider looks a bit more spiritual than the rest. But the word of the Lord was very, very strong here. And He said to me, if you're an avoider, listen to this. He said, you are not a good steward and you tend to abdicate your kingdom responsibility. And He said, my word to you is the same word I shared to the third servant in the parable of the talents. And it was a strong word because He said, you lazy and wicked servant. And I sense that the Lord is saying to you, confess and ask me to forgive you for mismanaging my money, for avoiding your kingdom responsibility as my son and daughter. And I sense that this is what the Lord is saying. Now, the joy I have in this, as I share this word, is I know that the Lord never brings a word to condemn us, but because He wants us to change. He wants to save our lives. So I'm going to ask you, just begin to make a confession right now before God. According to what the Lord's word is to you today, begin to speak to your Father. Say, Lord, I confess. I confess my natural tendency. I need your help. I need you to make me over. Unless you help me, Lord, I will continue to deceive myself. But Lord, I need you to break into that place with a supernatural breaking in and begin to deliver me from this situation. Lord, make me over. Lord, make me over.